Nice this morning on the beach. It's pretty hard to see either end actually. Everybody's still out exercising. It's great energy down here, so I enjoy coming down here every morning and having a bit of a stretch and a swim. I grew up at the beach swimming and surfing. I spent a bit of time at North Burleigh Surf Club competing in the surf life saving. Also spent a summer or two being a council lifeguard before I got drafted, so something that I love being around, and I guess from a recovery point of view it's good for your body as well. It's great energy and great place to be around, I feel.
Tippett with a big kick here. A really big kick for Adelaide. He's kicked a couple. 30 out. He kicks the goal. Adelaide will not go away.
Wouldn't say we come down here every day, but probably is one of our favourite spots in Bondi.
Kurt just moved here and asked him if he wanted to move in. He was looking for a place to stay. He wasn't quite... he was staying at Sam Reed's place and he wasn't too happy there. So he had about 3 or 4 cats and he doesn't like cats. So,
no, to be fair, Reedy had a mate moving in, so...
No, don't lie.
Reedy was kicking me out.
Reedy's like the crazy cat lady, so...
I am a bit jealous of watching Hannah's run out every week. I can't wait to join him. It's been a challenging little period, but you know, the team's been going very well, so it's made that a little bit easier.
We just can't wait for him to get out there and give it his best shot.
Wake up every day very grateful for where I am and really excited about my future here in Sydney.
1-0.
The rules are I'm not allowed to get beaten, right? I was tall as a kid, but then I sort of stopped growing, and then I was a bit of a late developer. I didn't really grow till grade 12, and first couple of years out of high school was when I really shot up. I remember even growing about 5 centimetres since when I first joined Adelaide. So I was born in Sydney and I moved to the Gold Coast when I was very young. The most used item in the house would have been the basketball ring. It got a workout every afternoon from a very young age.
He was always the one at school that was making the Queensland teams, and we're always sitting on the bench peeling the oranges for him.
Moved into basketball about age 10 and was lucky enough to represent Queensland when I was 18. Go to the States as part of the Queensland Academy and tour there and play some colleges and some junior colleges, and I guess at that stage of my life I thought, you know, I might pursue a bit of a career over there at college. Came back to Australia and it wasn't to be. I picked up a football, funnily enough, and things happened pretty quickly from there. I can remember my first game. It was a game at the end of high school. A group of friends at school were really enthusiastic and into their football, and we were just mucking around really. I didn't even wear football boots that first day. I just wore runners, and I didn't know what I was doing. I got told to stand up the end and have a go at catching a few, and at the end of that game there was someone there from Gold Coast football, and they sort of took my number and my name and asked me if I'd like to continue, you know, developing my skills in football. I was so grateful for the opportunity to be there. I just threw everything I had at it, and I just put 100% energy and effort into improving slowly, and I had to. I was coming from a long way behind, so I sort of understood that I had to work a lot harder than most people there.
Outside 50, long ball to the square, at the back, big man Tippett.
Top of the square. Gives Tippett an opportunity to run at the ball and jump at it.
I don't think we've seen the best of Kurt Tippett yet. He burst onto the scene and he really looked like he was going to take the competition by storm.
He can play a number of roles, go into the ruck, he can play centre half forward, and then he can play deep forward. And we've seen him in finals really command that goal square.
We also know he's a fantastic contested mark, and when he's able to stay in the forward line and mark, he's a pretty formidable opponent.
The feeling of performing at the elite level and maybe catching a big mark in a big game is exhilarating, and when you're playing at your best in front of a big crowd and in a big game, I don't think there'll be too many experiences that'll surpass that.
Players down.
Serious collision.
Right in the temple, by the looks of that.
Too many in too short a space of time for the big fellow Kurt Tippett.
I had some concussions. It sort of kept me out of football for a little while, and yeah, it was a bit of a challenging period in itself. You know, I was sort of getting concussed, and you know, I'd miss a week and then sort of doubled up and got 2 in 3 weeks, and then ended up getting sort of 3 in 5 weeks, and I missed a fair bit of footy. It sort of makes you think a little bit about your life. made me more aware of what I was doing outside of football. You've got to be living a pretty balanced lifestyle, because if you have all your self-worth caught up in football and that's taken away from you, you know, you've got to have something else to go on with. And probably from that time onwards, I was thinking about my future and where it would go and what it would be like. It was a tough decision to leave Adelaide. I'd been there 6 years, and it wasn't a decision I made overnight. It's something that, you know, you think a lot about, and I understood at the time that my decision wasn't going to please everybody, and that's hard because I like to please people. I wanted to put myself in a spot where I would feel I would be most happy, and as a result get the most out of myself as an athlete, and that's something that I've always tried to do, and that was probably the biggest reason behind my decision.
The ugly Kurt Tippett saga is officially over, with the AFL Commission suspending the former Crow for half of the 2013 season and the NAB Cup.
Oh, it was big. There's no doubt it was a big story. I mean, they thought he was going to go home to the Gold Coast when Gold Coast was starting up, being a Queensland boy. So Adelaide made him this really big deal, inflated dollars to keep him. But what none of us knew was that there was an escape clause at the end of it all. And of course, when it looked like he was going to go home to either Gold Coast or Brisbane, this escape clause became public knowledge. Sydney acted upon it, and they snipped in at the 11th hour to get him to sign on the dotted line, but that's when all hell broke loose. So once it all became public knowledge, the AFL stepped in, the Adelaide Crows got in enormous trouble. A very interesting story to look on from outside, because it's one of those things where you don't expect players to get impacted like this by contracts.
That whole time is a bit of a blur. It was a bit of a crazy time, an emotional time, a bit of time of stress, I guess. I felt totally uncomfortable. I still do, thinking about it. That experience was great for finding out who your close friends and family are, and you obviously learn a lot about yourself going through a little bit of time like that, and you find a little bit about others too. So growing up, that's the part of football that you don't see and you don't understand, and you know, you just think you get run out there on a weekend and play, and in reality, you know, there's a bit more that goes into football these days. It's a big operation, and putting teams together, and that is a big part of supporting teams.
The financial incentive was there. Sure, it was outside the cap. It was slightly askew, and they were caught. Inevitably, that was always going to bring some people down, which it did. The hierarchy in Adelaide paid a price. But for Kurt, was there a level of embarrassment? Maybe. A big fine and a large chunk of this season gone. Right now, all his focus will be about just getting the respect of this group pretty much instantly in round 13 if he can, and rolling forward and being a finals contributor.
I guess throughout my suspension, this is the hardest part of the week, coming to game day and not being able to play. Come Friday, I'm normally training by myself, which is tough. Today I jumped on the treadmill and then hit the weights room. I guess I'm training on my own these last 2 days. They're the loneliest 2 days of the week, obviously not being with everybody and in everybody's company, so I think it's worked really well, to be honest. I'm really happy with my preparation, and so I'm looking to go again now. We'll see where we come out.
Today is the day that Kurt Tippett finally goes from restless spectator back to AFL player. And the city of Adelaide has turned on a chilly reminder as to one of the reasons he was looking to move to a warmer climate. It's wet and it's cold, but Tippett won't mind at all as he lines up in the red and white of the Sydney Swans for the first time. He's had a lot of time to think about the past, about the decisions he's made, but also the future and the possible glories that lie ahead, fitting into one of the best teams in the AFL. No doubt he will believe he has a lot to prove, but this Sydney team will only ask him to play his role, and that role will be primarily up forward and to provide a contest. And he joins his new teammates as he's hoping that is not an omen as to what's ahead for the Sydney Swans. The banner, like everyone, having a little bit of difficulty today in the cold and the wet, but he's getting ready to take on Port Adelaide as round 13 continues at Amy Stadium.
Tippett, good hands in the way. Tippett again.
It's been a long wait. The expectations are high. We know the conditions are difficult. Kurt Tippett, after 104 games with the Adelaide Crows, runs out today for the Sydney Swans, and he's ready for action. A man who's been in similar boots is the great Barry Hall, former Sydney captain and premiership player, of course, and he's with us this afternoon. Hawley, a lot of pressure, we said, on Kurt Tippett. How would he be feeling right now, and what are your expectations?
Oh, look, he'll be a little bit nervous, I reckon, Hutto. It's been a long awaited return, 6 months out of footy with that salary cap breach, but that was probably a bit out of his control. But he would be a little bit nervous, but this is why he was such a sought-after player. We've seen in the preliminary final exactly what he's all about, Kurt Tippett. He's a contested mark player, very, very talented, but it's a scary proposition, him going into this Sydney lineup. They've got a dominant midfield. They're a long-kicking side, which will suit him down to the ground, particularly at the SCG. It's going to be a formidable force if they can get Kurt Tippett up and going. There is a couple of cons with him, though, and one's the pressure. He's a high-profile recruit. Being paid big money in the terms that he got there, that's going to be a lot of pressure on Kurt Tippett. We're going to keep a close eye on him today. If I miss a cross, boys, or an interchange or an injury, don't blame me, because I'm looking at Tippett very, very closely.
OK, Baz. And the Swans, who played almost the perfect game here a couple of weeks ago, begin in unbelievable style and straight in, and they come from everywhere. Kurt Tippett takes the mark.
And now all eyes will be on the kick. He's got Alapati Carlisle as an opponent, and as soon as he went down to his position, Carlisle started to bump him, hit his shoulder, a couple of pushes in the back, just say, welcome back, son. You're not going to get an easy ride here. But this is a dream start, and the fairy tale finish would just to slot this through with a nice kick, and he's on his way.
Well, the wind at his back is going to help him. It shouldn't be too hard a kick.
Well, Port wanted some help during the week to boo Kurt Tippett, but a little curtsy perhaps to start the day from Tippett, who kicks the opening goal.
You couldn't have scripted it better, Root.
Couldn't dream of it, could you? You seriously could not dream. There's Bobby Carlisle giving it to him a bit, the big Kurt Tippett, but Sydney winning the centre clearance, kicking long, Tippett in front, takes it on his chest. Have a look here. They just get it out. There's Jack putting it on the boot. Tippett in front, the big fella. His first contested mark for the year. Not known for his great kicking, Kurt Tippett. Hasn't got a great action, but when he's on song, he can kick quite straight. That one was a pretty simple kick. It was 50 metres out. He put it through. He's a confidence player, Kurt, so anything could happen from here.